What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Marvel edition of the Ragin Nation show. This is just a web series. We're talking about all things matter to me in the world of Marvel films. This is episode number 29. And let's talk about Sony and the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. And it looks like they're in a little bit of trouble because not only did they have nothing to present at San Diego Comic-Con, but The Amazing Spider-Man 2, their latest film, underperformed at the box office. Now, this doesn't mean that the film was a box office bomb or it didn't turn a profit at the box office. In fact, it made a whole lot of money. It just didn't make the money that Sony was expecting. They were expecting a little bit just under $1 billion. But in fact, it didn't come close to that. It came up with $708 million worldwide, which is still a lot of money. But domestically, it took in $202 million, just barely breaking $200 million in North America, which makes it the lowest box office take for a Spider-Man installment for the franchise. So because of this, this is a sign that could mean that The Amazing Spider-Man 3 will take in less. Alright, so what's going to happen? Well, it looks like that Sony is reworking their entire business plan for the franchise. And by franchise, I mean the future of the Amazing Spider-Man sequels as well as the spin-off films. Yes, they plan to have spin-off films for the villains. Now, originally, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 had a locked-in date for 2016. Okay, they had a specific date, which I forget what it was because now it's no longer the case. They also had another date locked in for 2018 for The Amazing Spider-Man 4. That is no longer happening, okay? They completely scrapped that idea. Now, the reason why they locked in those dates was because they were following the exact same business plan that Marvel Studios was doing. But it looks like they got a little overzealous. And they realized that after The Amazing Spider-Man 2 underperformed. Now, what is going to happen instead is they're going to be bringing in some fresher ideas, and that would be the villain spin-off films, which consist of the Sinister Six film and a Venom film. Now, this is going to be very interesting. What they have already done is that they've locked in a date for a Sinister Six film. So instead of The Amazing Spider-Man 3 coming out in 2016, they're going to have the Sinister Six film come out in November of 2016. I forget which date it exactly was in November, but I know it was November in 2016. So that's coming in, a Sinister Six film is actually coming in November of 2016. And there's a rumor suggesting that Doc Ock will be the leader of the Sinister Six. Now, as for the other five, I don't know who they are. It's going to be announced later on, but it could be any of the members of the Sinister Six. Now, the Sinister Six didn't just consist of 6 members. There was actually a lot of them, but when some of them went, there was other replacements. At the end of the day, there's 6 of them, and I'm sure it's going to be announced later on. As for the Venom film, that could be coming in 2017. That's the current the news right now. Now, I don't know if it's confirmed, but so far 2017 is the year that a Venom film could be coming. All right, but there's no specific date, okay? There's no confirmed specific date, but 2017 is the more likely year that is going to be released. Now, there's another report stating that the Venom film is actually going to be titled Venom Carnage. Not Venom versus Carnage, but Venom Carnage. Now, does that mean that Eddie Brock is going to be going up against Cletus Cassidy? You know what? It sure sounds like that, and that's going to be pretty exciting. Now, Sinister Six is directed by Drew Goddard. The Venom film is going to be directed by Alex Kurtzman from a script penned by Ed Solomon. Now, what's very interesting is that you heard the name Alex Kurtzman. It usually is accompanied by Roberto Orci, because Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orci are writing and producing partners. As you already know, they worked on Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, the Star Trek films, and also they were both producing partners for Eagle Eye. But this will be the first time that they're no longer working together. They have split up, and Alex Kurtzman will be directing from a script from Ed Solomon. Roberto Orci no longer has scripting responsibilities for the Venom film, and he's off to work on, I believe he's working on, you know what, I don't even know what he's working on, but at the end of the day, they're no longer working together. So very, very interesting how that's going to turn out. Now, Alex Kurtzman directing the Venom film will be his directorial debut, so that makes it even more interesting, all right? He's always been a writer, he's always been a producer, first time directing. We'll see how that turns out. Anyways, with regards to talking about the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, or rather the sequels, it looks like Sony did overreact when they saw Marvel Studios lock in all those dates. They were locking in a lot of dates, so Sony followed suit. They decided to, you know, play that card. They decided to play the same card that Marvel was doing, but after the Amazing Spider-Man 2 underperforming, looks like it was a bad move. Okay, so what's going to happen is that they're changing their entire business plan, but the crazy part is that they're still on defensive passive mode because they're looking at Marvel Studios' every single move. For example, recently Marvel, the comics, have announced that Thor is no longer going to be a male, okay? In fact, Thor in the comics will now be represented by a female. Now, the big question to Kevin Feige was that, is Thor going to be seeing a sex change, or is Thor going to be played by a female in future films for the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And also, can we see a Black Widow solo film? And essentially, will the Marvel Cinematic Universe films ever be led by a female? Kevin Feige simply answered no. They currently have no plans to have a film in their Marvel Cinematic Universe led by a female. So you know what Sony did? Sony decided to play that card, and that is just within days, or rather hours, of Kevin Feige turning that down about the Marvel Cinematic Universe not having a female lead. Sony actually just recently reported that we will be seeing a female-led Spider-Man film. Okay, so SpiderGirl, okay? Or perhaps a Felicity Jones, a Black Cat film. You know, that could be happening. But at the end of the day, it looks like that Sony is going to play that card. They're going to have a female-led Spider-Man film, and it looks like it's going to be happening in 2017 because it has been reported that Lisa Joy Nolan is tapped to pen the script for that film. Now, if that name sounds familiar, Lisa Joy Nolan is actually the wife of Jonathan Nolan, who is the brother of the director of the Dark Knight trilogy, Christopher Nolan. Alright? So, it looks like things are actually moving forward, and Sony is actually pulling a lot of tricks out of their unoriginal hat. I mean, this isn't exactly an original idea. They saw Kevin Feige denying what is not happening, or rather confirming what is not happening for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so Sony decided to play that card. See what's going on here? They're following every single move from Marvel Studios and seeing what they're up to, and then they're going to play a card to counter that move. Alright, so it's kind of like a chess game. So because of that, this is what's going to happen. While Marvel Studios has a film coming out every year, or rather 2 or 3 films coming out every year, it looks like Sony Studios is going to have a film in the Amazing Spider-Man franchise coming out every year, starting with 2016. In 2016, we got Sinister Six. In 2017, we got Venom Carnage and SpiderGirl. And then in 2018, we got The Amazing Spider-Man 3. A 4-year gap. Now, apparently, Mark Webb and Andrew Garfield are on board for The Amazing Spider-Man 3. But what happened to The Amazing Spider-Man 4? I mean, apparently, previously they locked in the dates for The Amazing Spider-Man 4. Is that even happening at all, considering The Amazing Spider-Man 3 took the original release year of The Amazing Spider-Man 4? Looks like there's no plans for The Amazing Spider-Man 4. It's something that they got a little bit overzealous about, and they overreacted. So the Amazing Spider-Man 4 is not even in the calendar for Sony Pictures. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be a trilogy. And you know what? I'll tell you, what I don't want to happen, what I don't want to see happen is another reboot. I just don't want to see that happening. Mark Webb is not on board for a 4th installment. Andrew Garfield is not on board for a 4th installment. Please don't reboot it. Find some way to continue the franchise, just like Marvel Studios is going, because if they reboot Spider-Man once again, it's only going to hurt the franchise, okay? And they're going to be seeing a lower box office take, all right? There's a lot of characters in the Spider-Man universe. Explore that route. Go into the expanded universe of Spider-Man. Bring in some more spin-off films. Have them all connected as a whole. And maybe that'll get fans more interested and therefore increasing the box office take. I think that's the direction that Sony Pictures should be going. And it looks like they're going to test it out. Starting with Sinister Six, Venom Carnage, SpiderGirl, and then going back to Peter Parker with the Amazing Spider-Man 3. And there you have it. That's all I gotta say in this video. A lot has been going on with Sony Pictures. I mean, this is just a big circus. Or rather, it's a big chess game. They don't seem to be concerned about what's going on with 20th Century Fox. It looks like their main competition is Marvel Studios, because they're the ones that are locking in all these dates all the way to 2019. Well, there's only so many dates that they could lock in. Alright, so Sony Pictures better start getting their move on and start putting their game faces on. So there you have it. That's all I gotta say in this video. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, @RaginNation. If you want to see more updates with regards to the Marvel films, subscribe. My name is Alex Yu. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Most importantly, it's not a foam suit. The way they're handling the Thing in the Fantastic Four reboot is exactly how they're handling, or how they handled the